Kevin, that was a bad one. Kevin, that was a really bad one. But first, what's up, everyone, and welcome to Kevin and Zach Reacts, the first one solely on the new channel. And me and Kevin, I'm not going to lie, we were behind the scenes before this, just ranting, and then we had to stop each other, and we're like, no rants until we're on stream. We have a lot of thoughts. And yes, Mike, internet is back, so we're back, everyone. Appreciate all of you guys. Yeah, and Steve, great first stream. Yeah, this is not how we envisioned it because this was a bad game. There was, in some words, I'll say it, malpractice. Malpractice is the word I want to use right now. But Kevin, just kind of, how's it going?
It's going. I mean, I'm excited to be on the new channel solely. We hit 1,000 subs, but look, I think for a first sole stream, we have more talking points than we ever imagined, and unfortunately not in a good way. We're on this show to talk, Zach. I know we have a lot of words, but at the same time, I'm kind of speechless at some of the stuff that we saw tonight, and we're going to get into it. But, well, yeah, welcome into the new channel, everyone. We're about to have a wild stream tonight, so put your seatbelts on and stay tuned because we got some things to say.
Yeah, and we talked about this before we went on. Tonight, there was like 7 different, okay, the whole show is going to be about this. At first, the whole show was going to be about Grayson Rodriguez's injury, and we will still get into that. Don't worry. Then, next, all of a sudden, the whole show was going to be about, holy crap, Albert Suarez, what a start. Hero ball. Albert Suarez deserves so much better, Kevin. He deserves so much better. Hell of a freaking outing. Standing ovation for Albert Suarez. 10-minute notice and puts on a show. And then it was just mismanagement after mismanagement after mismanagement to the point where suddenly you look up, it was 1-0, 2 outs in the inning, and then you're like, it's 5-1? I mean, it just... the guy, I mean, obviously, we'll get into it. I feel for Grayson. I hope he is okay. The biggest guy I feel for right now is Albert Suarez because what an outing, all thrown away and overshadowed by just horrible management.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, he finds out he's getting a spot start, Grayson. And again, like you said, we'll get into it, but he goes out there and just puts it all on the line, man. Leaves everything out there. 5 innings, 2 hits. 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, does not give up a run. He was on the day, and the Orioles needed him to be, and he deserved the win. He deserved it. But then, and look, it's not about Suarez in this situation. Like, for me, him leaving after 5, like, okay. Like, he just found out he was starting, right? It's a spot thing. He did well. Like, you don't want to push it too far there. Okay. Bart Smith comes in. Orioles legend Bart Smith comes in. He's been incredible for the Orioles. Gets 2 outs and then gives up the little hit.
A blooper to the hottest player in baseball. Hottest player in baseball. That happens. That happens.
Yeah. And so we know, and look, depending on how you feel about it or not, we know matchup data, we know analytics, and that's going to make a lot of people upset. And look, to me, go ahead and use your analytics. Don't overuse the analytics. Do not overuse the matchup data. Sometimes it is okay to just ride the hot hand and figure it out. It's okay if a guy gives up a single. Or it's okay. That happens. It wasn't like Birch gave up a homer. It wasn't like Birch gave up a double. He gave up a single. And then Gregory Soto comes in, who we knew coming into this had 2 appearances before and didn't look wonderful in either. Looked better the second time, obviously. The first was a disaster. And you might want to cover your ears to hear this stat line. 1/3 of an inning pitched, 4 hits, 4 runs, also the inherited one that Birch, the Vladdy that he gave up there. So technically 5 runs, 4 earned, but Birch got the earned run on the Vladdy hit. 1 walk and 1 strikeout. The command wasn't there. He wasn't on his game. And it was because of matchup data. It was because of analytics and the fact that Bart Smith gave up the single. I mean, it was all these factors. You know, we can talk about Brandon Hyde and this and that. This is not the first time that any manager in baseball has made a questionable decision. But we have had these conversations a lot throughout the season, Zach. We had just talked about Brandon Hyde. about how in that Guardian series, those last 2 games, he was on his game.
And
but more often than not, it feels like we're having this type of conversation as opposed to that type of conversation.
Yeah, and it almost felt like, Kevin, I love how you brought that up because I was going to as well. We were giving Brandon Hyde so much props, so much credit at the final 2 games of that Cleveland series. We were saying he's in his bag. He's putting on a show. He can't hit. He can only hit the right buttons. And today felt like a heat check. Like today, he was like almost trying to be like, when the guy hits 2 straight threes and then he's double teamed going down the court next time and he still just shoots it no matter what. Brandon Hyde just thought, okay, I got to just keep pushing buttons, keep making substitutions, keep doing this, keep doing that. And he outmanaged himself. He overmanaged. In these situations, less is more. And I do want to get to this comment by Stanley. Is it possible Hyde is not making those calls? Is this team orders, as they would say in F1? Yes, I think a lot of this, there is a lot of truth to Hyde is not solely making these calls. This is just an organizational philosophy. They play the matchups. But the difference between a good manager and a bad manager is the identifying the moments to be like, okay, I know the analytics say this, and I know this is what the numbers tell us to do, even though we'll get into it in a second. The numbers actually told you to do the opposite of what Brandon Hyde said if you look at the analytics. But you need to have feel for the game. We just talked about Birch Smith. We thought that was the blunder of the day. Taking out Birch Smith, then Soto comes in, gives up 5 runs without recording or before recording is out. Then you get to the 8th inning. Jackson Holliday, I understand it worked out. Slater walked or whatever to get the run in. But Jackson Holliday was your one guy you got to hit, and it was a home run. And I saw people on Twitter saying this. Honestly, if you're in the chat, shout out to you. If you're not going to trust Jackson Holliday with the bases loaded as the tying run? Yeah, as the tying run in the middle of August, are you going to trust him in October with that situation? Like, this was the game to be like, hey, Soto was horrible. We're down 5-1 going to this. We're playing with house money almost. Just let the kid hit.
Yeah.
Cabrera, the pitcher, the lefty for the Jays, is lefties have a better chance of or get on base more against him than righties. Like, let the kid hit. And then obviously the Coby Mayo thing, like that was talk about being torn, because I needed, like, Colton Cowser, how do you take out your hottest hitter? But at the same time, like, the fan in me was like, do it, Coby.
Oh.
Do it. Like, I was like, half of me was like, this is the dumbest decision ever, Hyder. And then the other half of me was like, but how cool could this be? So.
Yeah, and I do agree with you where this is an organizational thing. This is not all on Brandon Hyde. There are decision makers that also have input on how the team is run on and off the field, right? Everybody in the organization has a voice. Now, again, Brandon Hyde is the one down there. And all right, we got Brad in the chat. And actually Brad brought up some stats here. So Austin Slater this year against lefties, 193 average. And also a 505 OPS and 100 plate appearances. The splits 193, 300. And then what was that last one? 205. Yeah, I got you. So 193, 300, 205 for Slater.
205.
I mean, the thing is, Jackson for Slater, he's one of your hottest guys. Not your hottest hitter, but he's someone that has looked better. Just give him a chance. I get, the vet thing in Slater. He's had a pretty good start to his Orioles career. He's someone that maybe could get, and look, it worked out in a way. I mean, he walked a run in, but it's just just to say, oh, Jackson Holliday hit a home run in this game. He's the only one that did something, and you're taking him out. And then Urias hits, strikes out on walls. It was 3 pitches, wasn't it? Struck out on 3 pitches.
Yeah, and I agree with us.
I agree. I'm if you want to pinch hit Slater, that's fine with me. Like that's okay, but it shouldn't have been for Jackson. Is what I am saying here. And then the Coby for Cowser one, that one is like, okay, like you're right, Zach. You want Coby to go up there, do his thing. You're like, oh, this would be awesome, right? But Cowser has the 17-game hit streak, which did end tonight because he did not get the opportunity. And it's a tough spot to put Coby in general. Like, of course, like he's talented and he can do it, but he's looking for his first hit. It seemed like, the last game we had talked about it. That was the first game, Zach, where he kind of looked like he was pressing a little bit. The first two, he looked decent, even though he wasn't getting hits. But I mean, what gives you a better chance? If I just said to you blind, what gives you a better chance in an inning to score a run with the bases loaded or get multiple guys in? Is it Jackson Holliday, Austin Slater, Colton Cowser, or is it Austin Slater, Ramon Urias, Coby Mayo? I think everybody's taking the first one.
Yeah. And like you said, the biggest thing is like, yes, okay, matchup. You want the lefty-lefty matchup. They wanted the righty-lefty matchup. Colton Cowser is your hottest hitter. That's just what's so frustrating is that Colton Cowser is your hottest hitter right now, and you're taking the bat out of his hands with the tying run on first base. Like that doesn't make sense to me. That is the biggest, yes, like I said, I'm torn because I would love for Coby to come in that moment. That would have been a massive confidence boost for him. It could have propelled him, whatever you want to say. But Colton Cowser needs to bat in that spot every single time. I don't care what the analytics say. He is the hottest hitter. He's one of the hottest hitters in baseball since the All-Star break. Like, if you look at his stats, he's top 2, 3 in every single offensive category since the All-Star break. You let him hit there. Tying run on first base. You let your hottest hitter hit. I don't understand it.
Yeah, and I see Ryan or Brad. I don't know if this is Ryan or it's Brad. Okay. All right, it's Brad. Brad saying you ride the hot bats regardless of the matchup. And this is true. Analytics and matchup data does have a place in baseball.
Yes.
But not to the level of you're using it for everything or mostly everything. It's actually very helpful. Analytics, matchup data, using it in certain spots. Like, it's good to have and good to use. But there is a difference of using it over everything and just sometimes letting guys play, letting guys keep their streaks going. Oh, okay. No, Brad said that was Ryan. Okay.
Oh, that was Ryan.
All right. So this was Ryan. Brad said that was Ryan. Okay. So we got Ryan and Brad both in the chat here. But yeah, I mean, you got to ride your hot hands here. I mean, to me, it's just such a weird, it was a weird game because it felt, the Orioles obviously were right there with the Jackson homer. It felt like, all right, this is the conversation we come back to, Zach. This is the bullpen. All right. When we had the conversations about the bullpen.
Yeah.
When we talked about this Orioles bullpen, it was okay. The starters have usually, not all the time, but they have usually been pretty good in the terms of they'll give up 6 hits, 4 runs, and 5 2/3 in 6 innings. That's enough to win you a game with this offense. It's a matter of, 1, can the offense play consistently? But 2, it's can the bullpen come in and do their job?
Yeah.
And Gregory Soto has not done his job. He wanted to change the scenery if the opportunity presented itself. They gave up both Seth Johnson and Moises Jose for him. And so far, that we've talked about the great deals the Orioles made. Eflin looks awesome. Jimenez looks great.
And Eflin looks even bigger now.
Yes, and Slater looks great too. But the Soto deal so far has looked like a big swing or a miss. Obviously, swing and a miss. There's still time to turn it around. But what's your confidence level in this bullpen right now, Zach? Because it just feels like they keep looking for answers with matchup data. Soto doesn't have it. Obviously, Kimbrel is more so. What do you think Kimbrel's role is right now?
Low leverage.
Yeah.
It's get him back. Brandon Hyde clearly does not trust. I'm not going to say he doesn't trust him because I think he does trust him. Brandon Hyde does not want to put him in a situation where he has to, where the game's really on the line. Like, that's why we saw there was the 4-run lead. What was that? On Sunday. And Dominguez gets up there. Then we get a few guys on base, and suddenly they're like, oh, Kimbrel's up now. And then they went with Dominguez because they didn't score any runs. I think he's literally like, if they're down by 4, up by 5, then we'll see him. But I think they're solely trying to get his confidence back. And then one last thing about Cowser, because I wanted to see this. This is since July 1st. There's 19 at-bats. Cowser's batting .368 against lefties. I mean, You ride the hot bat. I just feel like the confidence we've seen, and it's not like Cowser is sitting here and he's like been atrocious versus lefties. Obviously, you've seen that. Cowser's, how many times this year have we gone, holy crap, Colton Cowser left on left home run? You know, Cowser got in front of that one. They tried to jam him. He still powered it out. Like, Cowser has not been a slouch against lefties at all, especially not recently. So, but yeah, back to the bullpen. It is hard to trust the bullpen. You know what's crazy? You know who I think's in my top 3 for trust? Birch Smith. And you know who's probably dead last right now? Gregory Soto. And you know who they brought in for Birch Smith? Gregory Soto. So, like, it was literally a whirlwind of just, like, the opposite of what you wanted to have happen. Because I think right now, if we're talking about trust, Cano's up there, obviously. I think he's probably the most trustworthy right now. I really trust Dominguez. I know some people are iffy on him.
Yeah.
I really like Dominguez. And then it's kind of between like Birch Smith and Cionel Perez and like Jacob Webb, like in that middle tier, like fighting for those 3 to 5 spots back and forth. And then it's got to be Soto's towards the bottom. I know I'm forgetting someone. Obviously, I'm forgetting someone because that's just 6 guys. So who am I?
Who would you list? Kimbrel, Cano, Soto, Perez, Dominguez.
I'm definitely missing someone.
Okay, well, regardless, I think the way that you put that is like, look, Birch Smith is your guy, right? He is your most consistent reliever. We've talked about this all year, Zach. You want a solution in that Webb. It was Jacob Webb. That's who it was.
Yeah, I said it. I said Webb.
Oh,
well, yeah, technically, I guess Suarez.
Suarez. Okay.
Yeah, so thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Captain said it here too. Free the fish. They're doing well up there. We can't do a fishbowl tonight, though. I feel like this is not the right time.
No, these are horrendous vibes for it. We cannot name the fish on the same night as this mismanagement. Like we have to have good vibes for this fish naming.
Yeah, good vibes. But I mean, I think you put it best, Zach, is this team just needs Danny Coulomb. Like in the worst way. You know, we talk about Felix and they need him too, but like Danny is he still on track for September?
I also just didn't say Kimbrel. So also
I said Kimbrel.
Oh, well then boom. Well, I forgot him. I do know I forgot him. So
yeah. I don't know. I think it's just there was so much stuff that we could have talked about for storylines.
And here's something I want to point out, and I know people are not going to like this. The Orioles bullpen has had its struggles. It is definitely tonight. It has people in there that I don't trust. That's for sure. But what was the big thing last year for the Texas Rangers, Kevin? It was all you got to do is get to their bullpen and it's over. All you got to do is get to the bullpen and they're done. And then the bullpen caught fire. They go on fire. Whole team, obviously. Bullpen turns into shutdown. They just get hot at the right time, and they win it. So I'm not saying, even though I don't love where this bullpen is, we've seen bullpens get it together. We've seen this bullpen have streaks of like 12, 15 games where they look unstoppable. So like it really is just a time where you're like, this team just has to get hot at the right time, which is obviously the case any year. But specifically with this bullpen, you're going to need that bullpen to get hot at the right time. You're going to need these bats to get hot at the right time, especially, Kevin, if you're without your number 2 guy, Grayson Rodriguez. So do we have a little update, I believe, on him? Do you have it, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, I know what it is.
Yeah, I was just gonna.
So Grayson is going back to Baltimore to get further imaging and evaluation done. Obviously, the Orioles ended up scratching him from the start, and it was it lat teres, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes.
Discomfort in there. So obviously, we know that lat injuries and pitchers do not get along very well.
It's the injury he had last year.
Yes, and he missed what? 2 months?
It was like 2 months of game time.
Yeah, 2 to 3 months. So, man, I mean, looking up, and just again, I am not a doctor. I want to disclose that, but looking up, and I'll pull it back up. But
Costco, appreciate it.
for lat sprains. Where's my thing? Lat strain recovery. Here we go. So grade 1 lat strains, if that's what it is, usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks, right? And then for him getting back into rhythm and whatnot. Grade 2 is usually a month or a little bit more, anywhere from like 4 to 6 weeks ish, month and a half. Grade 3, it's done. That's surgery usually, and that's like 6 to 9 months. Like that's worst case scenario here. So
and hopefully they caught it.
Yeah. So again, we don't know. Obviously, like if it was a grade 3, I feel like he would have like felt it before, and like it would have been a bigger deal than it was, right? Like we can hopefully say that's the case, but it's tough because the Orioles have already lost 3 starters for the season. The issue though is we're not in May, we're not in April. We are at the beginning of August, and a 4 to 6 week recovery time, if it's a grade 2, puts you right at the beginning to end of September. Probably be back for the playoffs by that point, but I also think the Orioles probably want to be cautious, right? You don't want to rush a guy back from this thing and have it get worse than it is. So it's a very difficult situation. We don't know what it is. It could even not be a strain. Like we don't even know if it is a strain or not. They didn't say anything about anything. We're just trying to say like, if it is this, these are the recovery times. So hopefully it's just a little bit of discomfort. The imaging doesn't show anything, and that's good if that's the case, because then it's just like, okay, maybe he rests for a start rotation or 2. And then he's back in there. But Zach, the Orioles cannot afford to lose Grayson Rodriguez. I mean, again, you mentioned Zach Eflin looks so big now. So big.
Yeah.
Because you still have a guy that can slot in.
And who we got to talk about him. Everyone's going to say Trevor Rogers. Obviously, you need him to now step up massively. But if Zach Eflin's your number 2, Dean Kramer's got to start game 3 of the playoffs like that. And you're going to have Dean step up, and Dean has pitched well. We see Dean go in stretches where he looks like a top 2 to 3 starter on this team. You're just going to need for Dean to put together one of those stretches again. It just, that's what's going to happen. Like you said, it's not May. There's no more trade deadline. You can't go out and get anyone. Chase McDermott just got put on the minor league IL yesterday, so that's not an option. Thank God. I know some people won't like it. Thank God Cole Irvin didn't get picked up by anyone, So,
yeah. I mean, it's just tough because like Grayson has been generally consistent, not every single start, but generally very consistent. And he's the guy after Corbin where you're like, all right, like you trust that guy usually.
Yeah, I agree. Suarez is now, especially with Grayson, Suarez, congrats.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. I think that's the case. And then I guess you do call Irvin back up as the long man. And all right, here's the other question, though, because if we're just talking, well, let's finish off with Grayson first.
Roll dons.
Okay. But for Grayson, you need him, but you also need him for your future. We're all talking about this year, though. But if Grayson gets rushed back or he comes back too early and this thing messes up even further, if it is something that's, serious, you don't want that. You have to kind of live by playing the cautious route, unless it is something where you can go out there and be effective. If this is a pain tolerance issue, that's a different story, right? If it's a pain tolerance thing, Grayson's a tough guy. Grayson can go out there. But if this is injured, and if you pitch anymore, it's going to either tear completely or there's going to be something else that happens and you're going to risk next year time. The Orioles are already dealing with next year time with Kyle Bradish and all these other guys. You don't want to add another name to that list. So it's super unfortunate timing. This team looked like it had gotten it back together against the Guardians. And again, I don't think that the season's over and the sky is falling, right?
They might have to
Could be Jim.
Yeah.
Could be.
And I know the comments are always, when we come to starting pitching, it's always going to bring up Trevor Bauer. Listen, I don't see any way the Orioles sign Trevor Bauer. No matter what we think, no matter what the fans think, I don't think Trevor Bauer gets signed by the Orioles. I just see very little to no chance that Elias, if they would have already done it. I feel like once you lost Means, Wells, and Bradish, like you would have made a move then. Like I just don't see a move for Bauer happening from this team, even with the Grayson Rodriguez. It just feels like if he was going to get picked up this season, it would have definitely already happened,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think they're going to probably roll with what they have at this point.
Yeah.
And look, it's with injuries, it's not a lot anymore. Like Zach, this and me being a Ravens guy here and like covering the Ravens, it reminds me of the Ravens cornerback room every single season, where it's like we start the year talking about how this team is flush with cornerback depth, and by the end of the season, we're like, man, they have 2 healthy corners left. Well, we talked about how with the starting rotation before the season, it was, they're 7 deep, right? They have Burns and Rodriguez and Bradish and Means and Kramer, and then you got Wells and Irvin on the back end, like just waiting to start. And now you're down. If Rodriguez misses time, you are down to 2 of your original 5 starters. That is an injury-plagued season for a team that could have afforded a couple of injuries here and there.
Is this just insult to injury? Is Framber Valdez about to throw a no-hitter when we lose another guy? So for those who don't know, we had Jim Duquette on, former GM for the Mets, and then also in the front office for the Baltimore Orioles. And he talked about a trade potentially that could have went down a long time ago, early like 2015, 2016. And the Astros, they were going to deal potentially Zach Britton to the Astros and for a low A starting pitcher, a young Framber Valdez. So fun little fact.
I'm trying to see if I have that video handy, because that would be yep. Is this it? No. Yes. Maybe. 1 second. Play the Jeopardy music. Here it is.
With my cousin, when they were considering trading Zach Britton to the Astros. They were waiting that final day leading up to the trade deadline, and it ended up that they couldn't come to an agreement based on ownership there with the Orioles.
Out of curiosity, for that Britton deal, who were you guys trying to get from Houston?
I think that a young Valdez was in that deal, but I have to go back and look at that to see for sure. Yeah, the names from that, you would go, oh my Lord.
And I guess while we're at it, hit that like and subscribe button if you are new to the channel. This is Kevin and Zach Reacts. We are part of the Ryan Ripken Media Network. So, we do this after post-game show after every Orioles loss and win. Wow, I really said loss. That's how much we've been losing.
Oh, my God.
Corey Seager. Did we just the ultimate jinx? We just played the Trevor.
Oh my God. Wow. We played the short. Wow.
We did it. We did it, guys.
Wow. Woo! That's what you get here on this channel. Jinxing no-hitters from the heavens.
Brandon, don't worry. We'll definitely get back into talking about Brandon Hyde in a little bit. But yes,
we're also going to clip up these streams into some shorter form content as well that'll come out over the next few days. So just to be able to do that, man.
Yeah. But last thing real fast. So yes, this is Kevin and Zach React. We do this after every single Orioles game when breaking news happens, all of that. It will also be after Ravens games and all. But if you like interviews like we just showed you, head over to the Ryan Ripken Show. We do that every Monday and Thursday. So go give that a subscribe, a follow. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back into this horrid, disgusting, malpractice, disgusting game that we just Gene, I'm so sorry. And I know no hitters, Kevin, at least in my league, are like 100 points. Like no hitters.
Really, man. I didn't do fantasy football this year. Or fantasy baseball, excuse me. But we are doing fantasy football, both Ryan Ripken Show leagues, and I will have separate Locked On Ravens leagues. So I'm gonna be managing like 30 separate leagues this season. So
yeah,
gonna be a fun time.
Yeah.
Well, it's not fun was this game.
Not fun at all. And let's get
back into it. Yes, I've seen a few comments about the Baltimore Orioles are now in second place in the AL East after the Yankees game was postponed today against the Athletics, against the Angels, the LA Angels. Kevin, every time I look at the box score, I just see the first thing to pop up, Holliday home run to center. Vibes were incredible. We had just had Albert Suarez dominate. You had Jackson Holliday hit a homer for the first hit of the game. Suddenly, it was like we are back. You know, it was like the offense couldn't do anything. And then the young star, technically the last swing of today, that's what makes it even more annoying. He was pinch hit for after he hit a homer. It was his last swing. Timothy, yes, the overreactions are my favorite part about losses as well. That's kind of why we do this. You know, you get the overreactions out here. So then usually by the end of this, we all feel hopefully a little bit better.
Okay, so all right, so let's do it right now. Season's done. They're not winning another game.
Send Coby Mayo down.
Yep, Jackson back to Aberdeen.
Yes. Kid needs
that's why they took him out, right? So
yeah. Gunnar did strike out on 3 pitches, I think 3 times tonight, and that was just. Oh, this actually would have been. We should have a sub segment of this. Kevin and Zach overreact.
We could.
That could be like a thing we do. Like call up cash consideration. We might need a
move, man. That's the move.
So hold up. I know it got lost because he didn't score and it didn't end up mattering. Eloy Jimenez, another hit, Kev?
Yeah. On base machine, Eloy Jimenez. That's the thing. The thing about Eloy is, again, like, I think a lot of people like, okay, he's a power guy, right? Hits home runs, but he's a career 270 hitter. It's not like he's a career 220 hitter or something like that. Who just it's home run or strikeout or that. Like, those are the only 2 options. Like, he can get on base.
He's not a 3-out guy.
Yeah. He has to stay healthy.
Yeah, it was 112 too.
Ugh. Yeah.
Ugh.
Just, yeah, it was
exactly like that. Eloy was happy with how that went. This is just such a let's do 1 up, 1 down. We haven't done it. 1 up, 1 down. Where do we want to start? I'll start. I'm going to take the low hanging fruit. I feel like there's 2 big 1-ups in this, so I'll take one if you want to take the other. I gotta give Albert Suarez, dog. You know, this was reminiscent of Tyler Wells last year when Grayson Rodriguez. No. Tyler Wells last year when Kyle Bradish got hit with the ground ball to start the game in Texas, and then Tyler Wells came in and was just dominant. It was just as good as you can get. And hold up 1 second, Kevin. I want to pull up this tweet because this at the moment and still now, this made my heart incredibly happy. Where is that? All right. John Means today, during the game, we had live tweeting. And this is just, you absolutely love to see it. John Means, Big Al coming up huge. Wow. Talking about, and then in another tweet, he talks about how massive it was for him to do that, calls him a dog. I mean, this is how close this team is. That's why it gets me happy, because this team genuinely cares. That fired me up. And I know what makes me most upset is if the Orioles win this game after that happens, it's 3 straight games. You know, you've won 3 straight. We all know how vibes were after the split in Cleveland, come back from 0-2 to then split. You really are sitting there looking at Suarez going, this could be something that helps even propel this team even more. And this might be the biggest breaking news of the day. Is it going to happen, Kevin?
Oh, man, see, if we were to do like our first watch along, like that could be the game. I mean, that is, yeah. Man,
what inning is it? I'm so curious.
It's probably early. It's probably like top 2.
It's mid 4, so we'll see.
Oh, wow. Okay, all right.
Could get interesting. Oh, it was an Andrew Benintendi home run, friend of the show.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. So, yeah. So my 1-up is going to be Albert Suarez, just an absolute dog. He fired me up. This was exactly what this team needed. If anything, you save the bullpen, because if it's not for him, if he goes out there and throws
2 innings, this bullpen's done, and the rest of the series is a wash because of the bullpen. So just shout at him. That was absolutely massive. I'll just give my one up right now. I think we all know who our one down is going to be, so I'll let you do your one up first.
Well, didn't you just do it? Didn't you say Suarez?
Well, I meant my one. We all know who my one down is going to be.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, since you took Suarez, obviously mine is Jackson. He just continues to rake. Jackson Holliday is Ryan's account ad out there. I think that was a pretty good one, but that was a pretty good one. But yeah, look, Jackson looks every part of a hitter right now, right? I mean, again, is it going perfectly? No. Is it going about as perfectly as it can? Yeah, like it's going really, really well for him, which again I think makes the decision to take him out just even more mind-boggling to so many people, myself included. But yeah, I mean, how can you not give your flowers to Jackson? Homer in every series since he's been back with the club. So
yeah. So Jackson Holliday, dog. My one down. I'm just all encompassing. Brandon Hyde. I'm not even giving it a player. Brandon Hyde. It's just as obvious as it gets. I saw a few people earlier saying this is the worst managed game of Hyde's career. It's definitely when you take. I think you can make that argument. This was just. It felt like we were talking about at Cleveland. He could do no wrong. Every button he pushed, everything he touched turned to gold. Every button he pushed tonight blew up in his face. I mean, you can argue the Austin Slater, the walk helped, but, you know, I'm still batting Jackson Holliday there. You know, that wasn't necessarily the one I was very, you know, upset about. Like,
yeah,
it just everything blew up in his face. It was just tough.
Yeah, I would also.
He overmanaged.
He did. That's a good way to put it. I would also, I mean, if I'm being different, it's going to be Gregory Soto.
Yeah.
But again, this reminds me, and again, I'll pull the Ravens, I'll put the Ravens hat back on here. This reminded me of when Alejandro Villanueva signed with the Ravens and Steelers fans were taking victory laps in the comment sections of everything saying, you know, thank God this guy's gone, enjoy him, Baltimore, this, that, and the other, because, you know, they were sick of watching him and him have poor performances. And then he went to Baltimore and it was terrible. And that doesn't happen all the time. The same thing happened with Arthur Millette and Steelers fans saying, ha, enjoy. And then he's been awesome. But Phillies fans, after the Orioles traded for Soto, was all just like, oh, brother, this guy stinks, like this, that, and the other. And again, like, you're not putting all your stock into that. Change of scenery can certainly help. Yeah. But it's clear it has not helped. Do you here's an interesting question. When do you just bite the bullet
and DFA him?
Yeah. I don't think it comes right now. I think it could come soon if this continues. Like, I would probably give it one more appearance.
Yeah, I would give him, like, if you got to give him, I would say 2 to 3 more appearances. You got to give him an opportunity to try to turn this around because you gave up Seth Johnson. Like, Seth Johnson is a good prospect. So you have to make this work. You know, you have to give him every opportunity to make this work because the worst thing to do is you give up on him too early and then he does become a stud. But, yeah, if Soto, if he doesn't perform well in the next 2 to 3 outings, deuces. Peace.
And then I think the 1-for-1 there, either if he stays long enough and Coulomb is ready to come back, it can be him. If not, it's probably Aiken 1-for-1. And that is what it is. But I do think that the issue for a lot of people with that trade in the first place was the package. Again, with Seth Johnson being the headliner there and then also giving up another guy on top of it. If he gets DFA'd after 6 appearances, 5 appearances, 4 appearances, whatever it may be, that is probably the worst trade of the deadline.
Yeah. Oh, it's not even, you know, and Rodgers talked about today in an interview. Trevor Rodgers said he's already in his few days in between his starts has already received more analytics and, you know, feedback than he ever has in his career. So we'll see what happens there. But you've got to assume that Soto's getting the exact same, treatment. He's getting the exact same things. They're trying to fix something, but I just don't know. Like, the stuff's there. That's what's so annoying. Is this? I've seen people compare him to Fuji, and it is similar. I think it is. You look at the stuff, and you're like, if he could just know where it's going, it'd be incredible. The issue is he doesn't know where it's going a lot of the time. He'll touch 98 and he'll try to paint the corner. It's just whether or not it hits that corner, It could end up in the other batter's box.
Yeah. Look, the Orioles have a type, I guess. if we're talking about that, and I don't think this is the last. Like, they're gonna still tinker with this roster a little bit. I think, and that even like before September, like when September comes, you can get more reinforcements and things happen like that. But all these games are important, man. Like, if the Orioles start to slip a little bit because their bullpen can't close the door, again, like on a trust level factor, I trust Burch Smith. I trust Anthony Dominguez. I kind of trust Cionel Perez. I kind of trust him, right?
He's Cionel Perez. When Cionel's on. He's one.
Yeah, he's in there. I mean, I think it's like Burch, Sir Anthony, and then like a just half step down.
Sir Anthony Dominguez. I don't know.
He had electric stuff.
Smith have captured my heart, unlike two guys I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So
electric stuff there. I mean, I think you maybe like half trust Webb, right? He can be great. He can also be not so great. I'd probably put Cano in between Webb and Perez. Like, I know he hasn't had the year many have expected, but I do think that I'd put him in between Perez and Webb. Then obviously very far down. And I'm not including Suarez in this, by the way, because I just think he's going to have to start now for a little bit. Hopefully not, but we'll see. But then obviously at the very, very bottom of that list is Soto or Kimbrel. Let me ask you a absolutely diabolical question right here, Zach. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Game on the line. You got the Martians pointing the beam. Who are you trusting? Craig Kimbrel or Gregory Soto?
Craig Kimbrel. I've seen Kimbrel do it. That's the thing. I've yet to see Soto have a good outing here. Like I've seen Kimbrel. Like, I've seen him go and just dominate. But like, I haven't seen that from Soto. I mean, obviously I'm gonna go Cano. I've seen Rick put it.
Yeah, well, okay, let's bring it to another level. Thiago Vieira or Gregory Soto? Who are you picking, man? Earth is on the line. You need one out. Who are you putting in there?
I'm going with the analytics. Give me Soto.
Man.
There's a lefty. It's a lefty. Give me Soto.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's those are the low leverage guys right now. Look, I mean, this team is in too much of a competitive spot to get cute with stuff. They're in too much of a competitive spot to overuse analytics. And this is not, again, this is organizational, right? Like, whether you are Brandon Hyde, Michael Sig, whoever you want to put in that conversation, right? It's important to use them. I'm not saying they should go away from their general philosophy, but when you get into the nitty-gritty of stuff, I think that they want to use it a lot. And some teams use it more than others, and I think a lot of it is good. But there's stuff like this where it just becomes overuse. And that just it costs some games. And I think that once Soto had that inning, it just blew the doors open, and then they had a shot. It just felt it was one opportunity, because I feel like, again, if you only score one there, which they did, it just feels like, okay, well, the momentum is kind of out the window. And I feel like if you told me, Zach, who would you want up in that situation based off of their hitting, I would tell you Jackson and Kowser. And they both got subbed out.
Yeah.
Again, it's not Gunnar had a rough game, right? I mean, Adley's still getting out of his thing. Based off of right now, who is the hottest on this team? It's Colton Kowser. And it's Jackson Holliday. I mean, maybe
Gunnar.
Right?
Gunnar obviously was robbed of at least a double, possibly a triple.
Yes, yes.
That was, but yeah, right now, if there are two guys you want to have to play, it's Jackson Holliday and Colton Cowser. And with the bases loaded, tying run at the plate and tying run at first, you had the opportunity to have both of them up. And they didn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, how crazy would
maybe
you
right now, low key?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Maybe in minutes, right? Like for real. But how crazy would you have looked at me if you let's say you went out to the bars, had a night on the town, right? Not, we're not reaching for the stars here, right? You like to go out and have a good time, right? Yeah. So all right, I started the stream off, right? And I'm like, oh hey, we're joined by Zach Ballinger. Zach doesn't know what happened. And let me tell you, Zach, the Orioles had the bases loaded, and Jackson Holliday was about to step up to the plate, but he was taken out of the game for a pinch hitter. And then Colton Cowser had an opportunity. He's been hot, right? He also got taken out of the game for a pinch hitter. How crazy would you have looked at me? Would you have thought I was telling you the truth?
No, it would have been utterly insane. And Mike, I completely agree. This is one of those moments where you miss Jordan Westberg because he the producer, when the game's on the line, he always came through, and that's a guy, whether he would have been starting or not, if he's on the bench, I mean, that's the guy you're pinch hitting. But it's just, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. You had your two hottest bats up there. I would have subbed Coby for Urias, just, because.
Yeah, Coby or Slater for Urias. If it's Slater for Urias, you put Coby at third.
Yeah.
And
Coby had to come in no matter what once Jackson was pinch hit for.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's the other thing. Once they pinch hit Slater for Jackson, they had to leave Urias in because either if Coby takes Urias' spot, who's going to play second? You didn't have anyone else. So
yeah, I thought it was out of those three, like just leave the lineup as it is, Jackson, Urias, Cowser. I thought it was a very 1-for-1 thing, or at least a 1-for-2 thing. It ended up being like a 2-for-5 thing. And what I mean by that is you pinch hit Slater for Urias, you put Coby in. That's two moves. That's one move at the plate, and then you put another at the field. So it's 1 and 1. But it just felt like, okay, Jackson gets pinch hit for, and then you do something else, and then Urias hits, and then Coby gets put in. It just felt like this whole confusing mess when it didn't really have to be that confusing. So I don't know. Did we get Brandon Hyde comments tonight?
Yeah. He said this was the part that I think people are upset about. So Brandon Hyde said he went with Austin Slater, who's been really good against lefties this year. And then AV Miller, shout out you, posted the stat line that Brad had posted earlier that Slater is in fact batting 193 with a 300 on base percentage and a 205 slugging percentage in 100 plate appearances. So he's not hitting well against lefties this year. That was not. But I'm looking for more comments. I'm not seeing anything especially right now, but that was.
Yeah, well, and again, I think that just feeds into the whole matchups thing, where it's like it's good to have, but when do you use it? That is, yeah.
Oh, also this thing. If I was also upset about this, Hyde's got to say something to Schneider. Like when Schneider was just going off on Craig Kimbrell for no reason after he accidentally hit Vladdy.
That was lacking. I think Aviator asked it up here.
Yeah, as if James McCann didn't get hit in the face last week against the Blue Jays and Westy didn't break his hand against the Blue Jays last week. Like, we're getting mad because a guy got accidentally plunked in the back and walked it off. Like, Hyde should have stood up from there.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, apparently he said in his presser he didn't notice it. I
didn't see that.
I find that hard to believe when he was just like, you could hear him on the mics yelling, "That's bullshit." Like,
yeah, I mean, it was an accident in my opinion. Like, where did it hit him? It hit him on the elbow guard, right?
No, it hit him in the back. It hit, like, well, I mean, it was going.
He turned.
Yeah, like it would have hit the elbow guard, but he did.
Right. I see. Yeah. So, what about the AL East, Zach? The Yankees are now in first place with their game being postponed. They overtook the Orioles. With everything that's been going on, we still have a couple months to go. But do you think that it's going to be Yankees-Orioles? Are you confident the Orioles can get their lick back here and get back on top?
Yankees-Orioles for what? Like the
East. Who wins it?
It's hard to say either team. Like, it really is.
I know. I mean, one team has to break the curse eventually, right? Of win, lose, win, lose. Like, one team has to break it eventually. It's ridiculous. I'm sure that Hyde and Boone have their daily phone calls of like, all right, what are we going to do today? What are you feeling today? Are we going to win? It is just
it's just it literally, like, they're just besties. They're just besties that don't want to do one without the other.
I know. What friendship?
Friendship. I know we don't. I mean, let's have the conversation. Where Kevin and Zach reacts, let's react to it. If the Orioles don't make it to the ALCS, wow, that is crazy that you knew I was going to say that.
Come on, man. We've been doing this long enough.
Does Hyde go? I think so. If he makes it to the World Series, if he gets swept in the ALCS, it'd be interesting. But if you just made another step, if you make it to the ALCS, I think they would keep him. But if you can't make it out of the divisional round, if you don't make it out of the wild card round right now, I find it very hard to see him returning next year, just because you'd have to figure something out, especially if you only get 2 wins in the playoffs and then you're out again. Like, you would need some sort of spark.
Yeah, I mean, it would just depend on where they feel like the change needs, because a change would have to happen. Like, if they get to the playoffs and they lose in the ALDS again, and if it's as ugly as it was last year again, look, even if they struggle to get in, I still don't expect, even if they do lose in the ALDS, I would be pretty shocked if it was as ugly as it was last year, because that was a young team learning. But again, if you don't get out of the ALDS here, it becomes a pretty tricky conversation. And the reason I say that is because, look, personally, I think that they would need some sort of a spark as well. But does the organization, and again, I just want to play this from every angle, right? This is not what I would do. But does the organization sit there and say, well, yep, this is now Andrew and I are on the same wavelength, man. Shout out to you, Andrew. Does the organization say, well, pretty much the whole rotation went down with big injuries, and we were using all these rotation pieces, and all these guys were injured, and we were going through a bunch of stuff. And then, when the lineup, Westy hurt his hand and guys were missing time. Does the organization say something like that and give him one more year type of deal to say, well, let's see what he can do with a generally better, healthy squad? The issue with that, though, is that who knows when Bradish is going to be back? Yeah. Right? Felix is going to be back by opening day 2025. At least you would hope, right? Like, I think that'd be a pretty long recovery, but you hope Felix is back by opening day 2025. But then what about Bradish? What about Wells? What about all these guys? So do they sit there and they say, well, okay, tough end of the season, but do they say, injuries played a part? I could see them going that route. I could also see them saying, well, we need something. We need someone else. So again, I just want to play it from both sides, because again, the injury thing is not something that I would use personally, because it just feels like, again, with some of these decisions, it's like we're on this show to give reactions, right? We give Brandon Hyde praise when he deserves praise. We did it literally less than a week ago, like less than 4 days ago, 3 days ago. Literally, we gave Brandon Hyde praise when we deserve praise. Like, we give guys praise when they deserve it. But when they have mishaps, when there are things that need criticism, we're also there to do that. We want to be an objective show to say, you did great here, but this was not great. And right now we are saying this and a bunch of other decisions this year weren't great. He's had his moments this season.
Yeah.
But so does every manager. So I don't know. It is an interesting conversation because do you have any names off the top of your head if he were to move on, if the Orioles were to fire him? Do you have any names? Would it be Buck Britton?
I think
Would
Buck Britton better get an opportunity. I think, guys, I know everyone's Terry Francona. A guy that, and I know people might not like this, I would not be surprised if they moved on from Hyde. Now, this would get interesting because obviously it's the same regime. I would not be surprised if it is Freddie Gonzalez, the bench coach. I think he would get interviewed. I think Buck Britton would get interviewed. And then I think at that point you would go with a more experienced manager. You know, it's kind of weird in baseball because like the young manager thing, like, you know, in football, the big thing is, hey, go get the young guy, the young stud and try to build for, you know, the next 10, 15 years. For a little bit, like 5-6 years ago, that became a big thing. Like the Aaron Boones, the Brad Ausmusses, like it was like, hey, let's go get. We see it with Stephen Vogt right now. I'll give it to him. Stephen Vogt worked out. But it is funny. You're seeing a lot of these older managers getting, you know, third and fourth shots because they really they know how to win in the playoffs. They've been there, done that. And it's interesting. But I also don't know if a guy like, you know, Francona, if some of these older guys are going to come in and go completely going to trust the analytics completely. You know what I mean? Like that's another thing where it's going to be interesting. Don't get my hopes up. I have said multiple times, I don't know how it happens. I don't care how it happens. I just need one time the Orioles get a World Series ring with Ryan Flaherty as manager. I need it to happen.
Man,
could you imagine this?
Oh,
bring back Buck.
That you know what? I think what it should be is the prince that was promised, Bobby Valentine. Let's go. Oh, I do want to bring up quickly this comment from Birdland Minute because with the whole conversation about do you move on from Hyde, do you not? He is clearly a player's coach, manager, right? These guys do love him, and you know. Like I talk about this all the time on Locked on Ravens with John Harbaugh. It's like he's a player's coach, right? Both the Baltimore coaches are players' coaches. So obviously for Brandon Hyde, it's like you want to have someone in there who does unite the clubhouse, who is a player's guy, who the players get behind, who they fight for. I think they do that with Brandon Hyde, but does that outweigh the other things that are going on? And I think that's the question the organization has to answer because, again, we are still so far out from whatever the playoff result is going to be, right? There's a lot of time for the Orioles to, you know, get on a hot streak again. There's a lot of time for them to just completely lose it. Like there are so many different outcomes that we are kind of just assuming, well, if it all goes badly, then this will happen. If it all goes great, then this will happen. But it is a conversation to be had because, look, the decisions made tonight are not the decisions you make to win in the playoffs. If you make those decisions in the playoffs, you lose. Why? Because you also lose in the regular season when you do it. Because like we just saw tonight.
Yeah. And
that is the fine line that they're going to have to toe is the fact that if all the players absolutely love him, does that impact the clubhouse? That's why I would not be surprised if they do move on from Hyde, if it is an automatic, they want it to be Buck Britton, because all these guys have been coached by Buck. They've all come up with Buck. Buck's someone that they love. Obviously, Gunnar picked Buck to throw him BP in the home run derby. So Buck is another guy that they absolutely love. So I feel like if they really wanted to keep with the player coach, or not player coach, but like, yeah, the player's coach, you know, someone that they all love, is I really think that Buck Britton would kind of be the front runner for that job right now. Which I've kind of thought for a while, like even when Hyde was first hired, that Britton would eventually get the job just because like you hear nothing but even when he was in Double-A before he got moved up to Triple-A, like you just heard nothing but incredible things, and it was like this guy is good. So I would not be surprised at all if it's not here. He's going to get a call somewhere to be, you know, major league bench coach or something.
Yeah, I mean they will have options, but for now they're riding it out with Brandon Hyde, and man. There are certainly some high highs and some low lows with this whole season. Honestly, has been a bunch of high highs and a bunch of low lows, and I think it's frustrating because this team is so talented, right? They have talent, And it's nights like this where it's like where you're taking the bat out of your two hottest hitters' hands. You're taking the ball out of your hottest reliever's hands. It's like you have the guys that are performing, but you're not using them, or you're not letting them play as much as they need to be. At least tonight.
I accept.
People are saying.
I accept.
Man. Can I be your bench coach?
Yeah, Kevin. Oh, imagine the Kevin and Zach react after we.
Dude, let's do it in the game.
Yeah,
like let's put up a poll put up a poll.
Poll in the chat. Do we pinch hit Jackson Holliday here?
30 seconds to respond. Does Jackson go in right here? Oh man, that would be electric. Jeez. Yeah. Man, I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be. So I've seen a few people talk about David Ross. I would not mind that at all. He's another player's coach. Kind of in the Stephen Vogt type of role. Obviously, Ross won with the Cubs, but man, it just really sucks. But wouldn't it be kind of poetic, like Buck Britton leading us to the promised land after his brother Zach in the playoffs wasn't, brought in, and everyone thought that was could have been a year. And then 2014, I thought in 2014, and I tell people this all the time, I was like planning out the parade. Like I was like, shit, like, okay, I'm gonna have to miss school that day. Like there was no doubt in my mind we were winning that World Series, and then obviously we didn't. But that was literally 2014. It was like, oh, okay, we're the best team in the American League. We're gonna win the World Series. This is dope. And then the Royals.
Yeah, I mean, I have been, and I've said this really ever since that year. If Dexter Fowler had signed with the Orioles that year, they win the World Series.
Jesus. Well, if Manny Machado doesn't get hurt, if Matt Wieters doesn't get hurt, if we don't have Chris Davis, they just banned him taking Adderall. Like that was just everything went against him that year. That was just awful.
Yeah. I love the thing you just brought up from Fato's fan.
Oh, yeah.
Connor here. Chat, do we send down Gunnar to single A? Yeah, that's the thing where I'm like, all right, give us $50 and we'll do whatever you want within reason.
Okay, guys, anything within okay. Suarez, you're out there to bat.
Yeah.
Start.
Oh my God. Man, that would be electric, I'm telling you. So
yeah. That Fowler was that was 2016. No, that was 2016.
Oh, did I get the years messed up?
Yeah, that was 2016.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because that was when it was like, oh, Fowler's signing with the
Orioles. That was Gallardo and Fowler. Yep, I got the years.
And he was just at Yvonne Gallardo was my favorite player in MLB 2K12. Fun fact.
Yeah, and literally that would be the case if we did if we did donations. Aviator would run the team.
It would be like Aviator $50. Dean Kramer is now pinch hitting.
Let's go.
He gets a single. Everyone's like, wow, they are just geniuses down there.
Yeah, and I just go, Dean, get in the batter's box, and Dean does the Drew Ski like.
It's like, got him.
Let's go.
Look down the dugout. Whose bat can Dean borrow? He's got to borrow a bat. Be like, Dean, try a few out. Come on, you're on deck, Dean. You're on deck. He's out. Dean, he popped up. You're up. Like, Dean, you wasted too much time. You gotta be like, someone give the man an elbow guard. Someone give the man an elbow guard.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about though. I just got the years messed up. Yeah. I agree. If Fowler had signed with the Orioles in 2016, they win the World Series that year, in my opinion.
No, I agree. That was both those years make me.
I know, man. Crazy.
I can guarantee this. Like, this will be my platform to run on. If Zach was manager, we wouldn't see Urias every day.
Look at Isaac's picture, man. That is some Bali on the streets action right there.
I love it, Isaac. That's how I feel when I'm on the streets.
Oh man! All right. Do we have anything else? Are we all charged up? Or
you want to call to action real fast?
Yeah, we man. This was look. Hey, for a first stream on the Kevin and Zach React channel full time. What? Not what we were expecting. To get at the beginning of the day, but I think we got a lot of emotion out. We got a lot of points made. This is Kevin and Zach React, the Orioles post-game show. We do reactions to Orioles post-game. We'll do Ravens post-game, and I think we're going to do in-game for that. We're going to be setting up the call-ins. We're going to be setting up the memberships once we hit the watch hours and in the donate everything, right? So we'll have all of that for you. James McCann could be a good one as well. So yeah, if you could hit that like button and subscribe, turn notifications on here on YouTube, we'd really appreciate that. Yeah, Rocco Bullpen Coach, Ryan Medical Trainer. Brad could be the vibes guy.
Brad is in charge of hair.
Very
Everyone's
true.
hair.
Yep.
We're
So,
like the
yeah.
Yankees, where the Yankees, you have to cut your hair. We're like, no, you have to grow your hair out.
You have to grow your hair out. Yeah.
The whole team has lettuce.
Electric stuff.
But actually, it is funny. There have been rumors. Well, not rumors. I mean, it's not like it's rumors or anything behind it. But there are people who, in the baseball world, Kevin Brown and them were talking about this like a month or so ago. Who do believe James McCann could be a very good manager one day. And catchers make the best managers. You see the Aaron Boone, Stephen Vogt, David Ross, Brandon Hyde was the manager down in the minor leagues. Like Brad Ausmus, these guys are good manager because the catcher has to know both sides of baseball. He has to understand pitching. He has to understand hitting. He's the one who puts on the shifts in the infield. He's making all the calls. So, yeah, that would be and Mike, you are 1,000% right. Mustaches required. Required.
Oh man, do we want to do the fishbowl right now? People are asking for it.
I think it's got to be after a win, guys. I'm really sorry, but it's got to be after a win. We can't name a fish with vibes as poorly as these.
Yeah, these were like out of all the vibes games this year, these were probably like the lowest vibes of the season. Like
it's because it was just bad all around.
Yeah, which is crazy. I guess. Wow, 0-1 in the new channel solely of the Kevin and Zach React era. But you know what?
We hit
bounce back tomorrow.
We hit all the way up to 200 concurrent, so you guys rock.
Yeah, man. It's been awesome, really. And so again, we are still a part of the Ryan Ripken Media empire. We did not go anywhere on that front. So if you want to see us on the Ryan Ripken Show, we will be there Monday and Thursdays. So Thursday we'll be back with another one of those. But of course, we'll be back here tomorrow with another episode of Kevin and Zach React. We'll also have some other videos coming out from this stream. We'll clip those up, get those out as well. So there's just more shorter form content to consume instead of you having to comb through, an hour and 15-minute stream, which I know some people do and they love, but other people would just prefer to watch that. So really appreciate all the support, getting those watch hours up. Appreciate your Birdland Minute. You're the man. And you want to take us home?
Jackson would have to leave. It's part of the decision making. Everyone hates that Hyde relies on analytics too much. No analytics. We are straight vibes.
Man, that's all it is here, man. It's just
straight vibe. It's like a guy is just like, you're looking at the bench. He's like getting ready and you're like, no, not liking the way you're just right there.
Yeah, already. I'll be talking about him tomorrow on Locked On Ravens. Maybe I'll bring this up. New manager of the Orioles. So
manager of the Orioles.
Man,
let's do it.
Let's go.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's gonna do it for today. The Baltimore Orioles lose in just horrific fashion. 6-2. Was it 6-2, 5-2? Was it 6-2?
6-2, I believe.
Yep. It was 6-2.
Oh, no, that was 5. It was 5. It was 5.
It was 5-2. We don't even.
I'm trying to forget as soon as I can. So I'm already blocking it out.
Boom. Hey, Kevin, take the vibes, throw them out. We're past it. We're moving on. We're back, baby. Back at it tomorrow. Who is pitching tomorrow? First off, let me go see that. It is Trevor Rogers.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Buckle your seatbelts up, ladies and gentlemen, and get ready for the ride. But that's going to do it for us for tonight. So thanks for tuning in to another edition of Kevin and Zach Reacts. We'll be back tomorrow after the game. Chihuahuas. What's up? What's up, Molly?